Hello everyone, this is Shadow Dragon back with another episode of DC Universe Online. So in this video I'm just going to do a high-level overview and review of the ally system. So I'm not going to break down like numbers and abilities, but I'm going to concentrate more on the concept, how it applies to the game, my thoughts on each aspect of it, and how I'm going to be using them in the way that it is so far. So first of all, there are 3 levels of allies, probably catering to various play styles and play times of so whether you grind a lot or you only play this game once in a while, there should be something that can fit your character and your build. At the lowest level, which is called rare, they have the generic bots. So there's the House of Legends bot, which I call the bank bot because they use the same model, calculator bot, and oracle bot. These are fairly easy to power up and even max out. They go up to level 5. Their abilities turn on once they're level 3. They're the passive abilities. So yeah, the way the system works is you can have one in the damage slot, and that's the only character that you actually see. And then you have 2 support slots for passive abilities, which you can slot in the rare type starting at level 3. So you do have to level 2 to 3 just to be able to use them. So if you only play DCUO once in a while, it still wouldn't be hard to like grab these 3 and power all 3 of them up. I would recommend like not maxing out any of them until you get a good feel for them, until you're absolutely sure. Because right now, the currency we get, ally favor, is on the account, so it's not per tune. And with that setup, basically you're setting up one of your characters up at a time. Otherwise, like if you work on another character, then your main character is not getting the ally favors. So yeah, that's probably going to be the general method for powering it up. Just you just do one character at a time, then move on to the next. But yeah, if you do that, it's not too bad to get these 3 if you're working on a budget, and just power them up to level 3. Just because they're the lowest level doesn't mean they're like terrible to use or anything. They're actually, all the allies are pretty good, and they have a varying amount of abilities where you might use them in different situations anyway. So yeah, these 3 are pretty good for the amount of time that you're going to be investing in them. The next level up is called Epic, and that so far consists of Cyborg, the Flash, and Professor Zoom. And these are a moderate grind. They go up to level 8, and their passives turn on at level 4. So getting these guys up to 4 is not so bad. It's almost like the rare level, but just a little bit more. So yeah, even if you didn't put that much time into DC Universe Online, these guys are still pretty realistic to power up. Although maxing out to 8, that's probably arguable at this point. I mean, I'll get into it later, but in a gist, it's a new system, and not sure if you want to pour that much into it quite yet, as they'll be releasing more. The highest level is called Legendary, and these go all the way up to 10, and they each have 2 possible passives. One will unlock at 4, and then another one unlocks at 6. So these actually take quite a bit of a grind. Like getting the first passive unlocked is not too bad, so you'll want to read the abilities and see how far you want to take these. yeah, getting to level 4 for the first passive is pretty much similar to getting the passive on the epics. But yeah, between 4, going from 4 to 6 though, you are going to feel that. That's when you're going to start to feel it. And maxing out to level 10, I can't even imagine that yet. That seems like it would be quite a grind, and it actually takes you a bunch of resources because yeah, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but there are um, three things you need to collect that they're sort of like catalysts to the artifacts, but there's like one type for each level. Um, so when you get those tokens, you pay a lot more for the legendary ones, and they also drop a lot less. Uh, so there, the grind to get a legendary maxed out is a bit tough on two different streams. There's the ally favor stream, and then there are the alliances, which are like the catalysts. The legendary level is probably the most controversial because at launch you could get the other two levels from the vendor for different prices. Um, so there was no issue there. They were relatively low, especially if you had a large cache of marks. But the legendary ones, they were marketplace only, and even with that being an issue, another issue on top of that was it was only one per purchase. Like if you bought Batman, you could only put that on one character. They have since fixed that. That is going into an upcoming update. I think they fixed it if you buy it from the marketplace now, you could redeem on several, but they're going backwards to make sure everyone who did it before that is refunded. So yeah, if you bought two of the same character, you were going to get refunded for one of them. If you made a purchase at all, it's going to become redeemable on every character. And that kind of makes more sense. It doesn't hurt them. It should not hurt them at all because of the way that we power them up with the account bound ally favor. We're only powering up one at a time, as I mentioned before. So whether someone has one Batman or they have 10, they're only going to be able to power up one at a time. And if you happen to redeem on several characters, that would only encourage you to spend more in the marketplace because you wouldn't be able to catch up with the items dropping in game. You would definitely need to buy something from the marketplace if you were trying to maintain two characters at the highest level. So this may have started off like controversial at launch, but I think the devs did go back and correct it, like with the marketplace ones being redeemable on all, and also not in this graphic. They also pretty much gave everyone Nubia if you went for the Wonderverse capsule feat, which I think that's a pretty standard thing to do. Like once the capsule comes out, you're just gonna, at least open the 15 to get some kind of feat, and then they added another one where you get the 25 and you get the legendary ally Nubia. So that's sort of an alternative way. I think it ends up costing the same, to tell you the truth, because 25 capsules is like $25. And then what you do is you just unlock that on all of your other characters. So it actually ends up being the same, except you get all the other capsule stuff. Yeah, so it's all about perspective, really. Circling back to the grind, like I mentioned before, you really don't want to take these to the maximum level quite yet, unless you're using the three generic ones, the rare level. Simply because it's not that much effort, and you are going to want them powered up a little bit more because they're weaker than the two higher level ones. But yeah, in general, it's a new system. We've got nine so far, including Nubia. So, if they release one that kind of matches your playstyle a bit better in the future, you're not going to want one of these maxed out, because unlike artifacts, there's no way to move that XP over quite yet. So I would treat this like when artifacts first came out, where they turned on at 80. So you're just going to want to turn these guys on. For the damage slot, you can use them right off the bat. You don't need to get them to level 3. So the one that defaults into the damage slot is the one that's going to be least useful to you as a passive. That's the way I would work it. Simply because the passives are more important. They fire more often. Whereas the damage slot character basically just appears for 1 or 2 seconds, and then they go away and there's a cooldown. So as flashy as that might be, that is probably the least important spot. And if you're trying to gauge like how much ally favor you get over time to power these guys up, yeah, like I said, the rare ones are pretty easy. You get ally favor almost from every combat exchange. It's similar to how lock boxes and nth metal drop based on amount of time passed and then triggered by an action, a combat action. And you do seem to get ally favor in almost every exchange. Like you'll get 50, or sometimes if you're not in combat for a few minutes and then you go into combat, you get a little bit more. Yeah, so in the same way you work like whatever lockboxes, capsules, or nth metal, you're just going to get these on the side, but you will need to do a combat exchange. So it does favor you more if you're killing a lot of things. Like skipping ads probably won't get you as much when you go into those instances. Yeah, so this is going to be the next stat that people are going to be grinding out. And yeah, as I mentioned before, you're only going to be able to power up your allies on one character at a time, unless you happen to play a lot. But yeah, if you're trying to get 2 characters like equivalent at the same time, you're probably going to need to work the marketplace. But the way I'm doing it is I'm just working on my main, and then once those passives are unlocked, I move to the next character and do the minimum on those guys. And then just keep rinsing and repeating on however many number of characters you have. So one of the things I've been wondering is, why is this system here, and why is it the way it is, as in like with legendaries? Yeah, if you break down like the technicals and numbers behind this, like not the design and visuals, what it actually is it's giving you a short damage ability, a short damage burst by the damage slot character, and then you're getting 2 passives, which are basically like a special piece of gear or an artifact. They are more similar to artifacts because we are leveling them up. They are unlike artifacts in that you don't get a bunch of innate stats. So we've been pretty saturated on the artifact level already, and people have been either requesting more artifacts or another slot, because right now we can have 3. It started out with I think 2, and then they added a 3rd, and now people are asking for a 4th. So you can't just keep like adding artifact slots because of how much their stats are. The artifacts, especially when leveled up high, are pretty much equivalent or even better than some gear pieces, depending on what CR your character is at. To give you an idea, back before all of the recent major changes, the nth metal, there was a large amount of nth metal that was character bound, like not account bound, that you got from like the vault and the stabilizer event. So if you had like inactive characters that did just those two things, which a lot of us do, like when we have bank alts, they're stuck with a ton of XP. And then like if you just decide to invest, just a few catalysts to that character, you end up with a low character that has high artifacts. And just as an example, you could have like a level 20 character, and let's just say that they have 3 artifacts at 80. They're going to be pretty invincible for a couple of tiers after that. So yeah, that's the reason why you can't keep adding artifact slots, because our characters become way too powerful. The stats are going to be higher than the content they're in. I mean, they're strong now with 3. Imagine that with 4 or 5. So they needed some other system that's not artifacts, and they need to put like some other skin or design to cover that up. So why introduce legendaries into a combat system that involves our characters with like powers and loadouts and stuff? The reason I think they did this is for marketing reasons. After all, this is a DC Comics game, and if you're looking at this from the outside, like the other DC games, the Batman Arkham series, DC Legends, Injustice, like any of those fighting games, all those games you're playing as the Iconics, so you see them all the time. So if there are players coming into DC Universe Online from those games, they're probably expecting a little bit more interaction with the Iconics. And we really don't get that with this game. I would say DC Universe Online leans more towards like an MMORPG, more so than it's a DC Comics game. Because, if you break it down, we're just using our characters most of the time, and we are reporting back to the Iconics. In some of the newer content, they did address it a bit more, like having Iconics fight alongside with us. There's also obviously Legends PvE, but that has proven to not be popular with everybody. So this is a way to get the Iconics a little bit more involved. And like a DC Legends or an Injustice 2, you are actually leveling up the Iconics, in some way, in some limited way. They don't get customized, but I don't know, who knows, that might be something in the future. But yeah, I think that marketing reason kind of outweighs everything else. They just needed some way to get them involved, and this was the way to do it. Although, like, this is not the way that I would have liked. I tend to lean towards DC Universe Online being an MMORPG. So I would have approached it by using our alts rather than legendaries. So that's probably worth a bit of explanation. But you still need generic ones just to cover people that play single characters. So, the 3 bots are fine. They're pretty generic. The House of Legends bot is just a robot. The other 2 are like AIs, so they could be replicated. But the others are unique. So, what I would do is have generics like those 3, and maybe, throw in like a LexCorp soldier, a Star Lab soldier, that kind of thing. But like in place of Iconics, I would have much rather seen like us calling our alts. So the skin of the system is fine, as in like the suite of abilities and passive abilities. But like instead of an Iconic popping up. And the reason I don't like that is because this is an MMO and everyone is calling the same powers. like if you're in a raid and everyone calls the same iconic, you get that stupid factor where you see more than one of them at a time. Whereas if people used their alts as like an ally ability, you wouldn't see any replication. You would see a lot of variety. And the reason why that is, I characterize that as an MMO trait, is because in a lot of RPGs, you're forming a party and then you're doing a mission, so it'll usually have like more characters than you can actually carry. And we don't have that system in this game, where we create a lot of characters but we don't see them all at once. So with this ally system in place, it's like you're doing a mission and you're going to pick the suitable ones for that particular mission. And it would just be cool if they were other characters that we created. Now, they could use the template of the abilities that they have now. Like, for example, instead of like the abilities that Flash or Zoom has, we assign our speedster to that. Like if someone has a stun, we assign a troller to it. So you would be using that skeleton, but just as a design skin, it would be our alts instead of the iconics. So I think that would be much cooler, but definitely the marketing reason probably outweighs that. They need to make the game a little bit more DC than it is now. So anyway, those are my basic thoughts on the ally system as it is now. So let me know what you guys think about the system. How are you using them? Are you powering them up all the way? If not, how far are you getting them? And what do you think of the legends being repeated, as in like what I call the stupid factor? And what do you think of having alts instead of allies in place of this system? Alright, that's it from here. Stay tuned for more, and thanks for watching.